Welcome to the future of real estate. Your chance to find out what's going on in real estate and the real estate market. This morning show is brought to you by the Ellis Team at RE/MAX Realty Group. RE/MAX's award winner for most transactions in Florida.
With the Ellis Team at RE/MAX, it's a family affair. Always call the Ellis Team, they'll handle you with care.
Welcome to the future of real estate. I'm Brett Ellis of the Ellis Team at RE/MAX Realty Group. If you haven't joined us before, you're in for a real treat. On this show, we talk about real estate issues affecting you. We offer tips and insight you won't get anywhere else. Each week, we usually bring you our featured properties of the week, but I think we're going to skip that this week because we do have a very special guest. I'd like to welcome him back to the show. It is Lee County Ken Wilkinson.
Thank you, Brett. Nice to be here.
Great. Well, we always like having you on because you've always got great information. And this is the end of January, so
It is.
I guess what we'll talk about some things, but we'll also talk about the market in general. But this will be kind of our preliminary show because we're still evaluating what the heck happened in '09, aren't we?
Well, we're tying up the loose ends. We're finishing up the Value Adjustment Board process, which in most years we were able to conclude by January, but this year it's run over some. They did some legislative changes that has prolonged the process. So we're still dealing with last year's values. At the same time, we're trying to put together the new tax roll, which will be certified in July.
Great. Well, we're also working on our State of the Market report. Here's, for the viewers out there, I mean, here's what it looks like. It's a pretty in-depth report. We go into a lot of different things and whatnot and graphs, but we're still doing our preliminary analysis. It's kind of amazing though, last year, how equal it was to your data.
As a matter of fact, I remember last year we had this conversation and the numbers were really right on.
Similar, and we're working from different data, but it's
right.
Similar data. I'm working with the MLS data from the Sunshine MLS and the Greater Fort Myers Association of MLS, and you're working with tax sales.
Right. Well, we work off of all the deeds that are recorded daily. We get them off the internet from the clerk's site, and then our analysts in our office look at each one to make sure that an arm's length transaction before we use them.
It just goes to show, though, that the MLS is a pretty good sampling of the overall market.
We're members, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sampling. It's not all inclusive, but it's going to get you pretty much, right there as evidenced by that. And one of the things we do is we scrub the data and look for duplicates and eliminate some of the phony sales.
We like to look at MLS for trends, etc., but those are listings.
Exactly.
We can't use those until they've sold.
Exactly.
We work with sold properties. You work primarily off the listings.
No, I work with the solds.
Oh, okay.
So, but I also look at the current active and kind of look at how the market, how healthy the market is comparative to what's actually selling.
Sure.
So let me give you my impressions of '09, and then you can just chime in. And of course, this isn't substantiated because we haven't done all the detailed analysis as you haven't either yet. But it seemed like to me, '09 started the year and it was kind of coming down. And then it kind of seemed like it bottomed, and segments of the market seemed like they started coming up for the last 5 months.
If you're talking about single family.
Single family, yes, I'm talking about single family. And especially in the low end, I'm not certain that the mid to upper end is fully adjusted yet or not, although I don't know, but it just seems like the low end kind of bottomed first. And it's important for people to understand that the market has segments, and it doesn't always move in concert with each other. They kind of sometimes move at different times, don't they?
Correct.
And one end can be hot and the other one can be cold.
I think we all know what was going on in '08, sales, etc. Started in '07, particularly, like you say, the bottom end. I mean, 3 years ago, our average sale price in single-family residence was $321,000. Then it shot down to like $82,000, and that's a huge difference. Right. We're still seeing some very low I mean, obviously now's the time to buy. If you cash buy particularly, that's more what we're seeing. And
it seems like we've bounced out of those 80s, and the median price has come up to, last report was about $95,000 or so. And that's a function of two different things. It's a function that the lows may have bounced, gotten the bounce up, and the highs may be coming down and becoming better values, and as they're selling, which is helping pull the bottom up. So you've got pressure on the bottom from two places, the bottom coming up and the top coming down. and it's both are leading to the median price going up.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
What's going to be interesting to look at is this year we're going to analyze the median price versus the mean price and just kind of see if there's correlations to last year. And we do it by zip code, and because in your report you may have one part of the county that has been affected drastically. Well, look at the boom in '05, parts of Cape Coral and Lehigh Acres where they had all that speculative building.
They were going up the highest, which means they went down the fastest just as well.
Exactly. But there were other parts of the county that were, for a few years there, relatively unscathed.
Well, island properties generally survive fluctuations in the market that way.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see in '09 what really occurred. And
well, my biggest concern, Brett, for this coming year's tax roll, which means, you know, January 1st, 2010 is the snapshot using the prior 12-month sales. What we're seeing, and we just sent out our income questionnaires on commercial property. I've got a huge concern for what's happening in the commercial market. It could be devastated, quite frankly. What we're seeing, and people, you know, just driving around the county, you can see these number of vacancies, and then you know, tenants will compete for their, you know, they'll go to new and try to get better offers and stuff. So it's the vacancy rates are up, we know that, expense rates are up, and the rents are down. When you get caught up in that, I wouldn't be surprised to see 40, 50, 60% reductions in some commercial areas.
And see, they're not subject to the homestead exemption, so their taxes could go down.
Well, there is a initiative on the ballot in November. We have, this year was the first year, meaning the last year's tax roll, where, you know, we all know about Save Our Homes, the 3% cap. There is a 10% cap on all other properties in Florida. That first went in effect this past year. Didn't have a lot of effect because not many properties were going up over 10%.
Correct.
So this year, it will be voted on in November to move that 10 to a 5% cap on all non-homesteaded properties.
And that'll become important as we bottom out in some of these markets, especially the residential, which parts of it may have bottomed, and going forward into the commercial, maybe it's happened already. Maybe we have another year or two to go in the commercial, because I think they lag the residential.
They always do.
Yeah.
They always do.
And I think '09 was brutal on the commercial, and it'd be interesting to see what '10 brings us.
Yeah.
But it's nice to look at those snapshots too. Tell you what, you've been watching The Future of Real Estate presented by the Ellis Team at RE/MAX. When we come back, let's get into more about what's on the ballot in November. I want to talk about some of the fraud that may be occurring that Lee County's office has discovered, and lots more topics. You're definitely going to want to stay tuned, and we'll be right back.